practicing engineering season of your career should be when you're still like young. People struggle a lot when that season comes after the big decisions, the marriage and what. Then now they're telling you go to the field. You want to branch this side where things are easier. And I think I almost went that path of the least resistance. But I pushed with the thought of, okay, let's see how far this goes, because if I continue feeling like this, then my confidence, everything will drop. And there's a way confidence can also affect your performance generally. And guess what? That was my job for the 6 months before I got my role. I would wake up, dress up to look like the woman I want to be, being part of, and also being a very active member and board member of Society of Petroleum Engineers, got me into those rooms. Seems like you're just being put there
because you're a woman.
Because you're a woman, but with the knowledge and the skilling, you're even more confident to be in those rooms.
Hey SheEngineers, welcome back to another episode. We are here once again to empower the future women in engineering and to bring together the women in engineering. Today with us, we're going to be chatting with Anita Badagawa Mpora, who is an energy professional. I would want to even call her an expert. I like her passion for this path that she has taken. So today we're going to have a conversation with her, and for all of us that are thinking about the energy, taking the energy direction, we can, have some insight, know if this is the path for us. Otherwise, Anita, you're welcome to SheEngineer, yet another SheEngineer pillar. Thank you so much for honoring our invite.
Thank you, Sherry, for having me, and thank you for the viewers. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, thanks for coming. I had a small chat with Anita before we started this interview, and she has mentioned to me that she is very passionate about this thing of empowering young girls, and actually for her, I think it's beyond the girls. She's really into mentorship. It's something that has really excited me today, because one thing I would love to do is to bring all of us potential mentors, especially women that are mentors. So I'm very hopeful for the chat that we're about to have at the moment. But before we get very serious, I want to first break the ice small. So what brings a smile to your face on a normal day?
Yes, honestly, very many things can put a smile on my face.
Oh, that's nice.
But I think one that's consistent is being surrounded with love, family, friends, and also being able to put a smile on someone else's face can bring joy to me, and therefore a smile on my face.
I'm seeing a common trait in the SheEngineer pillars that are coming to feature on this channel. There is that love for giving, that love for, and it's expected, because if someone is willing to come and share, to inspire people, then that means definitely they like to, make life better for someone else. If you had a superpower, what would it be and why?
Given that I usually come from a point of solving problems all the time. Yes, that aspect. Honestly, if I was the world's UN as an individual, I snap my finger, I stop suffering there, I stop disease here.
You kill the world.
Yes, that would be my superpower. Like, why sweat it when I can just snap my finger and someone else's life is better, or the environment around me is better, and therefore globally the world is better.
I like that. It's interesting. Very interesting. Because right now I'm looking at you like, what the hell, this guy? Is that Spider-Man? Is this
Wonder Woman.
Thanks for bringing it from the woman perspective. Thank
From
you.
the woman perspective.
Reminding me why we are here in the first place.
Yes.
Wonder Woman would be a good one.
Yeah.
Now that we've gotten, to know a little bit of the personal side about Anita, let's get right into what really brings us here today. So Anita, simply like how I start all my videos, you could tell us what you do, what you studied, and then we build on from there.
Okay. First and foremost, I like to identify myself or to introduce myself in terms of the workspace as an energy professional. And the reason is because I'm generally passionate about the energy industry, and so I don't see myself really moving on the side of, let's say, the engineering alone, or the sciences, the geosciences, or possibly the technical side alone, because I know SheEngineers are looking to hear technicalities and what, but the general aspect of energy as a whole. So I'm an energy professional, but currently I work with the Petroleum Authority of Uganda. I serve as an upstream and midstream cost monitoring officer, and I also serve on the Society of Petroleum Engineers board, the Uganda section, as a program chairperson. I have been running a mentorship program as well, being or becoming your best version with young people. That's at young graduate level, student level. So basically that's what I do, but I have very many passions as well. I'm married, yet to be a mother in the future, so it's something that I'm also looking forward to. But that's, in a nutshell, that's what I do.
Okay, I think our audience would also like to know the course you studied at the university.
Yes. So in terms of education, I studied petroleum geoscience and production at Makerere University. But I've also gone ahead to do a couple of certifications in the energy field. One of them is Petroleum Engineering by SPE, that is Society of Petroleum Engineers International, but also done my master's MBA, but in energy business as well. And currently I've just graduated from project management professional, PMP.
Nice.
Yes. So in terms of education, that's it.
That's really good
for now. But I am an avid reader. I like reading a lot, both things within my field but also outside. So I'm a seeker of knowledge. I think I should say that.
It shows. You and I were born on that one. I have actually people that recently tell me that, you ever studying something, you're ever doing something. I don't know, but when I see something and I feel like I need that knowledge, I'm going to find a way to do that certificate. So that's nice. Nice to know what you did. So now, today we are here for you that went to the university and did something related to petroleum. I've met a number, and being that I work in the oil and gas industry, much as I'm on the civil side, we have a lot of the people that did the petroleum geosciences at the university doing more like our scope. The civil. Yes, they've ended up as like quality people, HSC professionals. For a moment there, I caught myself wondering, what's the use of studying particularly petroleum engineering if you're going to end up doing something that's not, because I would imagine that these people are working for companies like Sinok, Ziteb, these companies that are really in the oil, the drilling, the what. So could you give us some small insight on why you think things could be taken that direction?
Okay, one thing about generally career development or getting into the space of work after school is that usually one thing that we do not know coming out from university, and also the students who are coming out of university at the moment, is knowing that the first degree is always a basic degree. Regardless, it could be whatever degree it is. So I have a community still of STEM women in STEM, science, technology, engineering and mathematics. And you realize that with that basis, you can literally diversify your career, and you can be, for instance, you've said someone who did petroleum, now doing HSEQ, maybe they are safety engineer or they are process engineer, something a bit, you know, a bit what is called off. But when you look at, for instance, the future trends in the industry, it's not like what your basic degree is what you do. Like it's just on top of that, what can be added, what can you bring to the table, what's the value addition, yeah? For as long as you have the basic STEM, what is the value addition, what is the in terms of the future trends in the industry, and also in terms of capacity building and skills development, you can be trained to do anything. So in the oil industry especially, training is very key. Capacity building is very key. And you notice that even when the fresh graduates are brought in, they cannot start to do anything without education. It's almost like null and void, but it's also important. So it's basically that what students and young graduates should know is that it's just a building block. It's the first, but then there's training on top of that that can enable them venture into the different professions.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, and it makes quite a lot of sense. Because as much as I gave the example of people that have done petroleum, we also have people that did mechanical. That did electrical, but right now are now doing something different. For example,
probably now like reservoir engineers or drilling engineers.
Yes, that's so true. Because I have the last lady, actually the one before the previous video, Stacy. She did electrical engineering, but right now she's a proper oil and gas engineer. So really it shows that indeed it's just a base. And I think that takes me to a statement that one of my facilitators at the institute at which I'm studying right now made recently. He told us, he said something along the lines of sciences being the best basis you can have. And he was saying that fine, if you're here and you did arts and whatnot, it's okay. But for your children, encourage them to take on sciences, because with sciences you can build onto it and really take any direction. You can even go back into arts, get your side from sciences, but crossing from arts back into sciences becomes a bit tricky. So it makes sense, because you'll be in that field. I know a doctor in the field that works as an HSE. Like because
there's an aspect of health in HSEQ. So a doctor,
I get what you're saying. It really is just a base. So for you, how did you end up taking the path? How did you get up someday and find yourself in that course that you did at the university?
Okay, I will just try to briefly take us through just from the young girl to the one who took the course, so that maybe it can resonate with someone out there. So as a young girl and a firstborn daughter, my parents experimented with me on so many things actually, and it exposed me to so much, right? Because they were not limiting of you are a girl, so you should do only girl things. So it was more of, so I found myself growing the curiosity mindset right from a young age. I remember doing puzzles, doing those sudokus, playing with boys, you know, somersaulting and riding bicycles, motorcycles. So with all that you're curious, how does this work? How does this work? And for me it was always trying to solve something. Like I found a lot of joy in trying to solve a problem that people are facing, however small it was. So fast forward into the definitive classes, that is P7. I was very close with my mathematics teacher because I loved math so much, and with that background I used to tease her, or we used to tease each other because we're very like best friends. Good friends. And it helped that she was a woman, because I was like, oh, so like women actually, you know, can do these things. So I used to tease her and say, you know, I'm going to make your marking guide. That was in Kampala Parent School.
Oh, so yeah,
nice to know. That's good to know. Yeah, so I don't know if you know Mrs. Mulwana.
Oh my God, she was amazing.
Yes. So wherever she is, like, kudos, because she encouraged and inspired the girls in that class, right?
So great.
So I used to tell her, I'm going to make your marking guide. You don't need to sit down and do, no. I'm the one going to make the marking guide. And I never disappointed. So I always challenged myself. So with that, I was able to move to high school, to Namagunga. And then there, I always knew I wanted to be an engineer, but did not know what kind of engineering. Yes, and then moving into A-level at King's College, that is when the definitive moment of a light bulb moment that came. So it was about the fact that, okay, everyone else was filling in forms and people are putting civil, electrical in my class.
Was at that stage of feeling like
yes, job, you know, you're filling in and now you're defining which course you're going to do. And I was asking my friends, I asked my parents, I actually sought a lot of guidance, from the people that were older than me and my teachers and even my friends. So I realized everyone was taking the conventional side of engineering, the ones we know, the ones that are available. I was like, no, I want to do something different.
Oh my God, you're so much like the lady in our previous video. She also did not want anything common.
I just wanted to be different. I just wanted to do something different, but not just for the standing out aspect, but something that I would feel I was among the pioneers of this particular thing. Yes, so I quickly realized that through evolution, like of man and right from Stone Age, our needs were basic. There was food, shelter, you know, water, and then the game changer was when man discovered fire. Fire is energy, and with energy, so much like across the world is very like pivotal to the energy industry.
Literally almost everything.
Almost everything. The petroleum jelly you've used on your body, your specs, the plastic, the frames, your earrings, your clothes, synthetic, is all from like fossil fuels and petroleum products and stuff. So I was like, I want to do an engineering or to go into a field where it's affecting the day-to-day, like, you know, life of someone and impacting them in that way. Now there, I didn't even know that maybe it would be much bigger than that or what, but that's when I transitioned and said, I want to do something in energy. But when I quickly recognized that there is no energy engineering in Makerere, or at least the closer universities in Uganda, I was like, but what's the closest? And it was petroleum. So that's how I find myself in the petroleum class.
Hey, today we are here to debunk rumors. Now let me tell you, the gist that I've always found on the streets. The gist is usually people that did petroleum. Those days, those people, their parents knew, they had a glimpse of the fact that Uganda was going to start drilling oil and gas, so they make sure their children take on that course. Hey, today we are here to debunk those rumors. Because clearly for Anita, you thought. Your thought process was intense. Mine came from a place of I want an engineering course that will allow me to branch any direction.
Yeah,
that's what I was looking for.
I actually was going to do civil if I hadn't gone this side, because then I wanted to do something that is not so fixed.
Yeah, that will allow me to spread your wings. Yeah. Now your line of sort of, you really thought out this thing.
Though, just to also make it clear that even with that thought process, I still asked, but if I do this course, what is the future of this, especially in the country I'm in? And at that moment, I think only 4 classes had graduated before my year. And I was asking, where are they now? You know, and then of course the whole history of knowing when Uganda discovered its commercial reserves for oil and gas and what's the projection like, you know. And then I quickly learned that Talo was in the country.
Wow, girl.
Total.
To know about these things.
Yes. So I was like, okay, I think these are going to be my future employers, you know, in this field. So I need to look at it from that point of view. Yes. So
for you, the oil and gas came as an added bonus to the direction, because clearly your direction was energy.
Yeah,
that's what you were
direction was energy. And then it so happened that yes, there was a course, and also Uganda had discovered its oil and gas. Yeah. So
okay, I like that. I like the passion. The lady in our previous video emphasizes passion, and I want at this juncture to inform us that where there is no passion, you're building on a very, very rocky foundation. Because anytime something small will sway you and you're like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I want to give an example of what you just shared. Because if you are not so passionate, the moment you realize that there was no course that in Uganda that would directly give you energy, there's a high chance you're going to be like, I'm out of this. Let's just go and, might as well just do BCom.
Yes. Yes. Or like probably give up on the dream.
On that dream, and yet now, even with doing a course just close to it, you're really sowing big seeds in this energy thing. It's very nice to see. How about PAU, Petroleum Authority of Uganda? Many people want to work in Petroleum Authority of Uganda. How did you get there? What doors were opened and you saw yourself walking through?
Well, I think still the mindset of solving problems. That one has always gone with me. So it's about value addition for me always. So with previously having worked at Total Energies for almost from young graduate level to young professional stage, I worked there 5 years, and at that time I quickly recognized that I need to, once I got the basics and the foundation of the energy industry, because you know all these energy companies almost first started with oil and gas alone, but then they are all now venturing into the sustainability of energy. So that's why that was at the time when Total changed from Total to Total Energies. So I applied myself in understanding the science of the new energies that they were bringing on board at that time. So that is LPG, that is solar, that is EV, you know, EV mobility. So with that, I got the basics and the greatest foundation from Total Energies. Okay. And I realized that yes, once you know the technical aspect in the energy industry, you need to also know the policy. That's actually the laws, the regulations, you know. And the other side of it, which was now government, the option now was to move from private to government to get a bird's eye view of the entire sector, how it runs. Yeah, so that's how I find myself now in PAU. Yes, but for the young girls out there, it's not just something that happens, like it's how you apply yourself, the networks that you build, because it's very important when you join an association, in your industry, because you don't know how many doors just being in that association can open for you, especially if you're open and flexible and open-minded to new challenges and new opportunities. Because me being part of, and also being a very active member and board member of Society of Petroleum Engineers, got me into those rooms, yes, that were collecting all the oil and gas industry experts, you know, companies in Uganda and also out of Uganda. So that's where you meet your next employers, that's where you meet your next business partners and things like that. So yeah, that's how I got to this other side.
And then Total Energies, how did you get into Total Energies? You just applied, started as a trainee, what happened there? Yeah,
it was purely merit. Yeah, because I remember getting out of university and saying, what's next? It's very hard to enter these oil and gas companies most times.
That's what I'm asking.
Yes, so sometimes it's what I call serendipity, which is luck, but luck that is prepared, like where opportunity prepares a prepared mind, like meets a prepared mind. So I feel like for me that was it, of course also by the grace of God, but I applied the usual way for a young graduate trainee program, and I was called, I think, after 6 months out of campus, which was, to me, it was a milestone, because not so many people can actually get placed within the first year,
that's true,
of getting out of campus. So I took it as an opportunity to like really use it as a platform to build my dreams, but also be a valuable person in this company. Yeah. So that's how I got there.
That's interesting. The one thing I've really seen, man, oil and gas companies, people don't look for Gambanogo. Let me be honest with you.
Yeah.
Please just apply and prepare for your interviews, because usually it's merit. The little I have seen, the little exposure I have had, it is genuinely merit that gets you into these companies. And when you get there, it still remains on merit how far you get within the company. Like, you have to really be doing the most. You can't just be a basic employee that comes to work and counts your 8 to 5 hours and think that you're going to grow within these companies. You really have to keep outstanding. You know, in that, I came to realize that the whole concept of good performance in school is not there to gauge how brilliant you can be.
Yes.
It's there to gauge how much you can push.
And like, be consistent.
And be consistent and try to be at the front. Like, how much you can try to be better than everyone else in the same room with you. Because look at it like this. You have the same teachers. You're studying the same notes. But someone is coming back number 1. And another one is coming back number 60. Are you getting? So why anybody is anyway going to look at your GPA is not for them to see that, oh, this person understood hydrology, so let's hire them. I don't think so. I think it comes from a place of this person can stand out in whatever place they are, in whatever direction they are swayed. Because in school alone, you don't do one thing. You're doing biology, you're doing chemistry, you're doing physics, you're doing English, and then you're balancing it out and actually coming back with 8 in 8, coming back with 18 points out of 20. You go to the university, you come back with a first class. At the university, it may look like you did the same thing you did not. Why? Because at some point you're doing strength of materials, at another point you're looking into geo something, but you manage to balance it up and still stand out. I feel like this is what performance shows.
And also maybe to add to that is even the nature of the aptitude tests that you're put to task during the interviews. It's actually pulling out that very aspect you've talked about.
It's true.
That performance under pressure, that performance of pushing yourself, mindset, attitude, you know.
I did an interview. It was an aptitude actually, and I remember, man, that day I was going to go back home, because when I reached the place where I was supposed to do the aptitude, there were like 1,000 people. And I was like, now, what are the odds that I'm going to stand out? Genuinely, that was the mindset I had. Like, what are the odds that out of these 1,000 people, I'm going to be selected? I almost went back home. But again, something told me, God will be very mad at you. You've reached here and now you're going back. You've been preparing for this interview and now you're going back. So I proceeded and sat for the paper. Just for formality, if not, I sat for it and moved on with my life. And in the aptitudes, first of all, the questions were A-level questions. They were not asking me what engineering related things in that aptitude. It had mathematics and mechanics. Now, one paper was fully math, testing math 1 concepts, integration, differentiation and whatnot. I had not done those things in a while, my God. And then the other one was mechanics, where they're telling you which direction will the pulley go, which I sweated in that paper. But one thing kept me going. I had an uncle that always, he raised us with one thing in mind. Never enter an exam and walk out without answering every question in front of you.
Yes.
You do not know the examiner may be dozing and will take you because there is a pen or pencil somewhere. But if you leave it blank, they are going to clearly see it's blank even if they are dozing. So it's like, answer something. So I remember I first wrote out all the questions I knew. And now in that aptitude, you begin with one paper. Therefore, they say exchange. Now your neighbor has the mechanics one for you, now holding the one for what? For mathematics. So when we exchanged, of course, I no longer had the room to answer the questions I had not answered. Because I don't have the question paper with me to sit and analyze and be like, the pulley will go up, it will go down. So I just did my mathematics, but I kept one thing in mind. I didn't finish the first session. I left blanks. And Uncle said we do not leave blanks in a paper. So when I finished, I did the math quickly. It was easy for me, really. So I brushed back to the mechanics. Then I realized that today you don't have the question paper, so that you can continue to reason in your extra time. That's when I realized aptitudes, by the way, are really something. I'm like, but I can't leave the question blank. So I tried to remember, number 30, this was asking what? I'm like, no, you can't recall. I legit did pinky ponky.
It was objectives?
The objectives. I just said, now here, let's go with B. Now here, let's write D. But you guys, the interesting part is I passed the aptitude. And when we entered that interview room, the HR told us 1,000 people had sat it before we entered. Our lot had 1,000 and 1,000 more were coming in after us. Then there was me with Pinky Ponky. I went home knowing my odds were close to zero. But when I was there minding my business, I received an email. You've qualified for the oral session of the interview, come back and do the interview. I'm like, wait, I passed with my Pinky Ponky. Like, and really the only thing that kept me going was that one statement of, don't leave a gap. Make sure you try and answer something. And even on the questions, when I was answering, they can't give me a hard time, really. Even the ones where I felt like, I don't know what's going on here, what am I supposed to answer? A part of me told me, just answer. You cannot fail. For sure, all these years you've been doing physics, you've been doing more difficult calculations in engineering school. You cannot fail to answer these things. Just answer what your mind is reasoning. Trust me, I switched my head from math 1 back to mechanics, back to in that interview room without a question paper anymore. But I told myself, you can't fail this thing. There's no way you're failing. I feel like that's the only thing that helped me pass that paper.
And I think when I listen to you, it's just one thing, attitude.
That like just
maybe that's the thing that the others did not have that you had, and that's why you are. And
I feel like many people could have entered that interview room and looked at the question and they're like, I've not integrated in so long. Let's use that one.
And that doesn't mean that they're not brilliant, but the attitude.
That's actually so true.
Probably those people actually had a first class. Some of them had first class, and you probably, you know.
Of course not. I didn't have it.
But you see, so I mean, attitude sometimes is really everything. It gets you there more than, like, it gets you more than halfway there.
It really does. Your current role, if you could tell us more about what you do on a day-to-day, so we can understand, just in case I have a young girl here that's like, you see where Anita isn't going to be there. Take us through, what's your normal day like?
Well, my current role is, like I mentioned, upstream and midstream cost monitoring officer. And the role is interesting because, like we said, the basics of that role is mathematics, also understanding the oil and gas processes, the technical projects, what is under them, and marrying it to what is the budget allocated for these, and monitoring that cost between the point when you approve the budget to the point when the project is concluded and it's commissioned. So, and that's a long time because we are currently in the development phase of the oil and gas projects, Tilenga by Total, Kingfisher for CNOC, and even UNOC being the government arm for commercial interests. So in a nutshell, what my role is about is developing, crafting work programs and budgets for that kind of activity, for all those activities in between, and then coming on board with approvals by the advisory committee, because only the advisory committee approves those budgets, and they sit at a higher level and they approve those budgets, and then we do the monitoring, the cost management, and then reporting, doing trend analysis of how the costs are running, how the budgets are being utilized, and at the end of the day, the economics of how the costs are running vis-a-vis what will government stake be after or at the point of production now. Yeah, so I hope I've tried to make it more.
I think you brought it out nicely.
Yeah.
And on that part where you mentioned that you're merging the technical with the cost, I trained with a company for some time, and I remember the cost controllers in the company were not technical. If you could give us I want to say maybe pros and cons, of being like a cost controller in a place where you're not as you don't have the technical background behind it, because I believe there are some positives and there could also be some negatives to it.
Okay, the pros of you mentioned the pros of being a cost controller without having the technical background.
Yes,
I think the pros is maybe you being the cost controller, and in that role you're good with numbers automatically. Yes, that one.
Definitely.
And you've qualified to look at those detailed aspects of a budget, and how to analyze them, how to optimize the budget that has been allocated for like more cost efficient operations. That's a non-negotiable. However, the con of being a cost controller, when you do not have the technical background of understanding the processes or the project that you're looking at in terms of cost control, cost management, and all that, the con is that there are certain aspects you will not pick out. For instance, maybe I can just give an example. Let's say we are approving a budget on drilling a well, and you don't have any idea about what entails the drilling process, but you're approving a budget or you're controlling a budget. What you miss out is during standby, for instance, when there are no operations happening in terms of the actual drilling, but there are OPEX costs, of course, ongoing, because there is electricity still running, they have power in the place, maybe generators are running for other facilities at the drilling camp. You probably not know that in a day, the drilling cost, if it's on standby, the actual operation is on standby, should be less than when the actual operations are running. Because for you say they're drilling, and this is the cost of drilling, and I know it because yes, I have been following, and this is the daily cost, and this is what it should be. And let's say in a report you report that, But if you go down into the details of standby, what actually happens, and you know what actually happens, and you know that, let's say the company that you're controlling is on standby, but they're showing you that they need particular materials that are only required when they're operating,
and not when they're...
So you wouldn't know. So I feel like some companies, they're called cost engineers.
Yeah.
Yes, or I don't know, in project management, it's, project management or project manager or something, but someone who is technical in that field. So also does project costing. Yeah. So it's very important when the two marry, because then you can do better projections, better analysis, ask the right questions, Yeah.
Because of course our SheEngineer here is here to really encourage the future generation of female engineers. Is there like some piece of advice that you can give these young girls, especially those who are in with one foot and out with the other? Here we are looking at girls who are considering taking on the course, and we're also looking at those ones who are in it, but are pretty much sure that that's going to go and own a boutique after their course.
Yeah. I actually have a friend who is very brilliant, and through school she was with us and reached a point where she only did engineering because she was brilliant, not because she wanted to. And right now she's actually doing very well, doing her coaching and mindset and everything, and she speaks openly about her story. And for me, it's mostly because of society pressure. Sometimes when you have a brilliant child, the first thing you're thinking, oh, do engineering, become a doctor, do this, which is very good, but at the end of the day, if someone is not doing it out of their own will and liking, then probably they're the doctors you find and they're not passionate at all. They are rude, in the profession, and yet that's a profession where you're handling fragile people, right? Really people who are sick and all that, but you don't have passion for it. Nurses who are beating people, in maternity wards. So that is where the problem is. But if you're in one foot and one foot out, not because of that reason that I've explained, you have a passion, but maybe it's fear or it's imposter syndrome that you're going through, that can be solved, honestly. It's just a confidence booster that you need. Because one thing I tell like the mentees, because I want to also put a disclaimer that I'm also mentored. I have a mentor and I also mentor. So because in that balance you're constantly growing, you're learning from the mentees, you're also learning from your mentor. And what I always tell the mentees who are in that sport is first to find a mentor, someone who is going to carry you like through the career options and the journey in that particular profession, but also to have the confidence of you're worth it. You're worth it, and to earn your space in being worth it. Because sometimes we just say, I'm brilliant enough, I can do it, but brilliance does not get you to your dreams alone, right? It's a combination of very many things. It's attitude, it's networking, it's being mentored, it's constantly learning, skills development, trying to be the best in that particular field that you're in, constantly. Basically, that whole capacity building we were talking about is very key, because with that, with the knowledge and the skilling, you're even more confident to be in those rooms, to fight the imposter syndrome, to know that you're earning that space, and you're not only in that space because you're a woman. They say that for us we are given the 1 point and all that, but you also need to
job applications. Women are encouraged to apply.
It seems like you're just being put there
because you're a woman.
You're a woman, but guess what? That does not keep you there. And still, if you're probably brought in because you're a woman alone, it will show. But if you're there, yes, as a woman, but then you've earned that space, you take charge and you do your best in that. Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned something about mentorship. I liked it because personally I've struggled with getting a mentor. One of the things that pushed me to start this journey of the She Engineer channel. But I have a mentor, he's a male, and to today this gentleman really shows us that I'm just a placeholder. You need to find yourself a mentor who is a woman.
Yes.
Yeah. And he doesn't stop at that, because he's really those people that preach marriage, what and what. So he keeps saying, particularly being that you're women in a male-dominated field, you need to find yourselves a married female mentor. Now today we have you here, you're married. Could you tell us, give us a small perspective, a small insight, even if you're not going to wake up and mentor all of us, you could give us a small, what worked for you, what's working for you, at least for how long, for that journey that you've moved so far as a married woman in this particular career.
Okay, so like we've mentioned, mentorship is very key. I always tell my mentees that if I knew some things earlier, which I actually did at some point, because I remember getting out of campus and I did not know, okay, now what? There's no job as yet, I'm at home, what can I be doing in this time? And I remember my dad telling me that, look at the women who you want to be in 5 or 10 years. Write me a list. I can get you to talk to them. I can get you to talk to them. Just do your part, give it to me. I will get you to talk to these ladies. And I did my research, and I knew he already knew them, but he wanted me to choose them, to know what I really want, not to choose for me. So I wrote them down, and I remember a couple of them. Currently, actually, even one of them is the PS of Ministry of Energy, Mrs. Batewe, Irene. And I remember she was on my list. I had a list of 10 women, and he said, okay, let me get you the ones I can get you to talk to. And guess what? That was my job for the 6 months before I got my role. I would wake up, dress up to look like the woman I want to be, call them, say, do you have a minute at lunchtime, maybe 30 minutes? After, of course, me being linked to them, they said okay. And most times these ladies actually are very willing to help someone else, just that they will not come to you. You need to go to them. And I remember going to those offices. I'm like, how do you do this? I was so curious. Remember my curiosity? It is there till now. I would ask them. We realized we're even going beyond an hour of just talking and having those conversations. And honestly, that has been a game changer, because mentorship to me is a shortcut to success. Why would you reinvent the wheel if there's someone who's already in the place you want to be 10 years? Why would you go over 10 years if you can meet them, understand probably what took them 10 years for you? If you apply the things they're telling you right now, you can do it in 5. You know, why would you go the whole way? So that helped me a lot. And most of these women, yes, were married, and they also told, because I asked those questions, because I knew that eventually I would still end up where they are. And I asked them those questions of, okay, in a field like this, you're an engineer and you've gone this far, what have been the challenges? And I was more interested in those things that people don't say, because when they see you there as, you know, you are CEO of something, or people are only seeing the good part. I was very interested to know the bad side. And some of them were like, are you sure you want to hear this? I'm like, yes, because they used to think, oh, she's young, let me scare her, you know, she might not take the route if she finds out. But they were very vulnerable with me. They shared, and they shared the good and the bad side, and then I weighed my options, in regards to all the things they were mentioning. And for me, maybe in this field, maybe my advice or what I picked from them is practicing engineering season of your career should be when you're still like young, I should say, like when you're energetic. Maybe you're not yet even married, yeah. Maybe in early years of marriage you don't really have the kids yet or something. That should be your time for training, going to the field, you know, applying yourself, traveling, like
Do the most
because maybe that thing people struggle a lot when that season comes after the big decisions, the marriage and what. Then now they're telling you go to the field, you know, and you're like, I wish I had done that early. So do that part in the early stages of your career. Then for ladies, what I've noticed is, for those ladies, the engineering background helped them in the resilience, building that resilience at that age when they were in the field, building knowledge, capacity, building networks, you know. And then at that point now when they wanted to transition into marriage, it was a little bit slower. It was a slow season. And it's important to know the seasons. You're not always going to be like, you know, I'm going to the field, I'm energetic. To understand the season you're in. So in that season, they said their career stalled a little bit, and we should be ready for that part. Because you cannot be a mom tomorrow and everything remains the same. Like, you should just know that and prepare for it. So they prepared for that part. It was a slower, you know, a slower season of their lives or even their career, and it was okay. And maybe there were a bit of ups and downs and challenges with that, because usually if you're fast-paced and then you're slowed down, you feel you go into depression, you go into self-doubt again, and yet, man, you were doing these things before, now you don't believe in yourself again. So they took me through that whole journey and said, but now, are you ready for it? So at least that's how I got to understand the role of mentorship. And as now a married woman, I'm honestly applying the technical aspects of like the things I have learned in the career so far, but now getting into the space of leadership, the space of management, and then the space of business eventually, because I'm not going to be employed for more than, in fact, even for more than 15 years, honestly. That's why I see myself. So that's why the aspect of also knowing and building your career progression plan, knowing it early, helps.
It helps. It really does. It's a good thing to know that there's a point you're going to reach and it first comes down. Life itself tells you relax. Relax.
The world is telling you.
Then you know how much energy to put in at the.
Yes. And also what's very key is the work-life balance, what people are calling balance. But for me and from my mentors, we realize not balance, it is harmony, work-life harmony.
Then balance.
Yes, it doesn't. So today you might be fully, because there are those days where I have been, like, let's say in office up to 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Yeah? But then also there are those days where your family needs you and you're not going to be at office. So you have to prioritize at that moment in time what matters most.
Harmony is a nice one.
Harmony.
It's a nice one. I like it. Now, we can't have an energy expert here and live without knowing more about energy. And today, we know that the word energy, yes, we use it, but normally we add the prefix. I love to call it a prefix, renewable, because where we are today, we are really trying to create sustainability in everything that we do. So, as an energy expert, give us some insight on renewable energies, where we stand as a country. If you could give us some comparison, how are we performing compared to other countries, particularly African ones? Let's just not overstretch ourselves. The African ones, how are we doing? It would be nice.
Okay, when we speak of renewable energy, it's something a little bit new in the African continent, because with the current push of COP28, COP29, climate change aspects, there is a drive to having cleaner energies, right, to reduce emissions and therefore to reduce the effect of climate change. But notwithstanding the fact that the countries that are pushing that notion in Africa started fossil fuels 40, 50, 60 years ago. Now Uganda has just started. Now bring it home. Uganda has just started its energy journey, and it has started the energy journey with oil and gas. And that's not a bad thing. It's just we are different stages in development, being a third world country, honestly.
Really.
So I like what the minister said at one of the COP 20, I think it was 28, and said first in, first out. That is the progression we're going with. Yeah, the line of thought. That the first countries to have gone into oil and gas production should be the ones to first go out and do the renewable. Yeah, and then the ones who have come in later will be the last, like Uganda. So when you look at the energy transition plan we have for the country, it's very clear that we are going to use, because renewable energy investment is also quite high. When you look at it, solar energy panels, for instance, and having like fully fledged batteries, it's very expensive. That's one of the examples of renewable energy, and it drives the objective for Uganda to use the resources, the oil and gas resources, to build a fund that will support in investing renewables at a later time. Yeah, so with the energy transition plan for Uganda specifically, it mentions that the investment capital that's going to be used for development of the renewable energies is going to come from oil and gas. So we need to first, we need to first produce, exploit the reserves, get that money, put a fund, because it will also get us to middle class income status, and then work on the renewable energies for sustainability, because also the oil and gas is not here for more than 30 years, at least with the reserves that we have discovered. Yeah, so that is Uganda. In terms of Uganda and its plan on renewable energy, that is it. Okay. Yeah, but generally speaking, in comparison to East Africa and maybe generally Africa, renewables are taking on the next lead. Let's say 2020, it may be actually 2038, where we see a change, because there is a report by the Africa Energy, there's a company, yes, Africa Energy report that defines that there's going to be now an increase in demand for renewables from 2035 onwards, more than the fossil fuels. So we need to plan with that kind of projection in terms of demand. But looking at Africa, maybe East Africa, for me, and the study currently that I'm doing, a research paper, for me, I believe that if we synergize as East Africa, we can build a low carbon economy in the next 20, 30 years to come, if we collaborate. Reason being, the way that the renewable energy resources are spread out in East Africa is interesting. Uganda, yes, has the oil and gas. Kenya now is very big and leading on geothermal. Tanzania is leading on natural gas. Wow, nice. You get where I'm coming. So we are self-contained as East Africa to build like a lasting renewable energy future for Africa, even as a whole. So that study is still ongoing, but I feel if we synergize with policies, with infrastructure, with energy transition plans coming together, we'll go a long way. Yeah.
That's interesting. Wow. Eye-opening. Because me, I have been here and I'm wondering what's wrong with Uganda. We are really sleeping on this renewable energy thing. Recently, when were the training at Makerere. And one of the facilitators of the training mentioned something about Uganda's national electricity grid. And he was saying our grid is dominated by hydro. Yeah, whereas hydro is not 100% reliable. Yeah, it's not like it's non-depletable source of energy and whatnot. So it's like when you look at the solar takes a very small part of the pie chart. When you look at which other one was there? There was solar,
geothermal.
Yeah, all the others are quite, exactly, yes, they're really suppressed within our country. And yet when you look at the country's geothermal potential, it's crazy. Yes, it's really so good. You sit and you sleep at night and you have sleepless nights, like, why aren't we in geothermal yet? Yes. But now listening to your explanation of fast in, fast out, it brings some, like, it has woken me up to realize that, yeah, man, we just started this thing. Why do we want to be out of it so soon? We understand renewable energy is the way to go, and it would be good for us to have a lot of backup electricity. But let's take an example of Nigeria. Nigeria is one of those countries that have the worst electricity situation ever. Ever complaining, load shedding. However, I don't think, bare minimum, almost every Nigerian home has a generator, because oil and gas is their strength. Yes. So when you bring it from that angle, I'm like, okay, in the meantime where hydroelectricity is dominating the pie chart, at least we're getting oil and gas. We can find a way to also normalize this generator thing. Because I believe it will be cheaper, a little cheaper for us once we really have our oil and gas. And then with due time, we also take our time and transition. Otherwise, we could end up going bankrupt as a nation trying to achieve everything at the same time. Yeah. So it's a progressive kind of approach, and I think I like that. I appreciate it too now. Before I wasn't. Now I appreciate it. Okay, so before we go, because I feel like our time is just spent, but I would like you to share with us a challenge you might have experienced as a woman in engineering, and how you've overcome it, because we are all in this field. We face challenges every day. We don't know we are facing the same challenges. We don't know some of these challenges are coming our way in the future. And like you said earlier, it's best we take advantage of learning from other people's experiences than waiting to learn on our own. So if you have like a challenge you might have that you feel really is that one, just one challenge that you've experienced, especially as a woman in engineering, and you could share with us how you've overcome it or how you're trying to overcome it, it would really be nice for our audience.
Okay, I think I actually mentioned it a bit earlier, but for me, the greatest challenge has always been imposter syndrome. Having that imposter syndrome, because right from sitting in these classes, and let's say we were actually 7 girls out of 80, like 80 boys, 7 girls. So that threshold, and at a young stage, you're like, am I in the right place, first of all? However, your brain got you there.
Am I belonging?
But am I in the right space? Like, am I doing the right thing, or is something off? And I remember struggling with that from school. I'm like, is this the right thing for me? Or, because usually our brains, and psychologically, reports have shown that the human brain will take the path of least resistance. Like, you don't want to, why hustle? You want to branch this side where things are easier. And I think I almost went that path of the least resistance. But I pushed with the thought of, okay, let's see how far this goes, because if I continue feeling like this, then my confidence, everything will drop. And there's a way confidence can also affect your performance generally. So fast forward into now, those rooms, the boardrooms and you're like, okay, I think I got here for a reason, and that's where the question of purpose comes in, because it's beyond, purpose is beyond career, purpose is beyond what you're doing, and that's when now I ventured into like, who really am I before like maybe an engineer or anything, energy or anything. And then when I discovered that, then I came back and married it to, like I tallied it to what I was doing. And then that helped me to actually know that I'm unique. That's one. But also what I bring to the table is different from what any other person will bring. And I also understood the power of teamwork, team effort. Yeah, because when you build on different strengths, you achieve greater.
That's true.
Yeah, so I realized there's a strength I bring. Yeah, there's a strength I bring, and it doesn't matter whether I feel confident to be in this place where I feel, or whether I feel I should be out of it. So that helps, and okay, it helped me, and I keep telling my mentors it helps them as well. Just finding your identity before anything else defines who you are. Yeah, and then also the other thing with fighting the imposter syndrome, and I think I've actually overcome it. I have overcome it.
I'm so happy for you. Some of us are still fighting it.
I have overcome it, because everywhere I am, even when I feel like, okay, maybe this space I may not know so much, I listen and learn, and I contribute only what I know.
What you know.
Yes. And then later you realize you learn, and later you realize the people you've been fearing don't know certain things.
There's something they don't know that
they also don't know something you know, and you also don't know something they know. So that's why being like working together with people kind of sharpens you.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's it.
Thank you so much. My God, this has been a very, very, very productive discussion. One of the most productive discussions I have had in my life. Like just sitting there and you converse with someone and you feel like you just open, like light bulb moments are just hitting you one after another. And I believe our audience, that is the same for you. But at this juncture, we have to close down. As much as we'd love to keep hearing from Anita, there's only so much that we can share. However, Anita would love for you to mentor an extra girl or two from the She Engineer audience, or even more, so that your capacity can take. So you share with me your LinkedIn and the rest, and I'll share them in the description box below. So please reach out to Anita if you feel that she would make the perfect mentor for you. And yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to anybody that would learn so much from this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in the next episode.
Thank you.